He said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in New York City." And he said,
weird.
"Oh my God." He said, "They're going crazy. They're looking for it. They sent out the cops looking for it."
What?
So, it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're just bouncing around?
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, welcome to the Father Son podcast. I'm with your boy Chris Corciani. I'm Hugo Corciani, if you guessed. But today we're gonna talk about your European career, basketball career, and as you said, you played for the Magic your first year out of college, and then your second year, 4 teams.
So I started out with the Orlando Magic, and that was the year Shaq was drafted, and
Yeah.
that was exciting. And after about 20, 25 games, I ended up getting actually traded/released. And after that, I went to the CBA. It was a minor league
Okay.
team, and that was in Rapid City,
Was
South Dakota.
Was the ABA still with him?
Now, that was about 30 years before.
Okay, so you're kind of an old guy, so.
But I had never been to South Dakota. It was so cold,
Yeah.
and I played for Eric Musselman, and I was probably there for about 3 weeks, and it was cold and nasty, and we were taking long bus trips, and I was really thinking about retiring from basketball. I was
Mhm.
like, man, I can't do this anymore. And then I got a call from my agent, and the Washington Bullets picked me up on a 10-day contract. Tom Gugliotta, my teammate at NC State, was there. And I lasted all of 3 games, and once my 10-day was up, I was ejected from there as well. Then I went over, signed with a team in Italy called Benetton Treviso, and finished the year with them. That's
Yeah.
where I played with Tony Kukoc, and it was a lot of fun. But 4 different teams in 1 year. I didn't know if I was coming or going, and it was quite an experience that year.
Well, you're at Treviso towards the end, and what happens third year?
Third year, I ended up going to summer camp with the Boston Celtics.
Okay.
And so the third year I ended up playing with the storied program called the Boston Celtics.
How'd you take Boston? Was it
Boston was
city?
good. It was cold. It was the coldest winter that they had had in 25 previous years. So, but having the opportunity to play at the old Boston Garden, Robert Parrish was a teammate, Rick
Big
Fox. It was fun because the Celtics, are like the Dallas Cowboys.
Big franchise.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was special.
All right, so Celtics. Then you spent 2 years there.
1 year.
1 year? Okay.
1 year, and then I was hoping to get picked up. And as the spring and summer was going on, I'd call my agent. I said, "Do you have anything?" He said, "No." I'd call him again. "Do you have anything?" He'd say, "No." So then finally he called me one day. He said, "I've got an opportunity for you. It's kind of in Europe." And I went, "Where is it?" And he said, "It's in Istanbul, Turkey." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know where it was."
Dang.
And that opportunity presented itself, and
And you played for FS Pilsen.
yep, played for FS, and
Cool. That's cool.
your brother, my oldest son, was born there.
Deuce Corch.
Deuce Corch was born there, and that was an experience in its own.
Mm-hmm. So your first stop in the European, your tenure in Europe, and you go to Leverkusen after that. Leverkusen, Germany.
It was interesting. When I was in FS, we played in
Oh.
the European kind of playoffs, and one of the teams that was in our group was Bayer Leverkusen, and I happened to have a good game twice against them.
Mm-hmm.
So they saw me play, and they had a need for a point guard the following year. So I knew a few of the players on that team. So it was a kind of nice way to go to a team, a city I'd already been to, because I played against them the previous year.
So that Europa League group stage, you said, is like those 2 games were kind of like a tryout for you. In a
It
way?
was, yeah. But I mean, if I didn't play well in front of them, they, probably wouldn't have taken notice. But the fact I did have two of my better games against Leverkusen, I think, really benefited me.
Well, you never know who's watching.
Never know. You're always on display.
Facts. So Leverkusen, how's that city?
It was a great city. Very football oriented.
Soccer.
They had a soccer club there, and
Yeah.
they all the Europeans obviously love their soccer, but
Mm-hmm.
it was fun. Nice, clean city. People were friendly. Actually, that's where I met Claudio Reyna.
My
And
guy.
That's your guy. Well, that's our guy because we spent some time with him in New York City. But
Yeah.
funny story with this is, went to try to learn the German language. So I
Mhm.
signed up for a class, and there was this guy in there that said he was from the States. So we started talking. We hit it off. It happened to be Claudio Reyna.
For those of you who don't know, Claudio Reyna was the former president of operations at New York City Football Club, and now he's doing this startup MLS team, Major League Soccer, and for the Austin FC. Yeah. So
The thing is
Pretty
about
big deal.
that though,
Big guy.
is he never said, I was a great player or this or that.
Mhm.
He was so humble and down to earth. He was injured, so he wasn't playing for Leverkusen.
Yeah.
And the further and longer I got to know him, ended up finding out that he went to the University of Virginia for 3 years. His girlfriend at the time, Danielle, went to the University of North Carolina and played soccer there for 4 years.
Mhm.
Together, they never lost a national championship. 7 years,
Dang.
7 national
That's tough.
champions. And then I find out a couple years later that he's the captain of the World Cup team. But it was amazing, humble, never said any of his accolades or anything like that.
Yeah, I remember you telling me you didn't even think he was like that good at the time, just because he wasn't that type of guy to boast.
He'd come over our house, or we'd go over his house.
Mhm.
He would babysit Christopher and Tommy was born at the time. Just a super guy. It's really been cool. Hugo and I have had the opportunity to reconnect with him. We've gone
Facts.
up to a practice. We've gone up to a game. We had lunch in their facility. And again, he hasn't changed, just as down to earth as possible.
All right, good story, good story. So Leverkusen, you spent a year there. You won the German Cup, the domestic cup.
We won both the
Okay.
German Cup and the German Championship.
Ooh, the league too.
But back then, the German league was not great. It was the first division, but we had some phenomenal German players, and they had a good national team as well. But we were really stacked with good national German players.
Tell me about the teams a little bit. So you were on Bayer Leverkusen. What were like the big rivals or the other good teams?
There really was only one other team that was good, and that was Berlin.
Okay.
And the rest of the teams just didn't have the financial resources,
Mhm.
nor did they have the German players that were near as good as ours. We had 3 or 4 German players that were better than the Americans. Generally,
Dang.
back then, the Americans were the stars.
Yeah.
We were almost role players on that team. That just tells you how good our German nationals were.
Well, can't expect much. Basketball, would you say it was like just starting out there or no?
Yeah, they, back then, I don't think they had any players in the NBA at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Dirk Nowitzki's their prince, and they've had a number of others as well. But they had some good athletes, good players. It just the teams weren't that good.
All right, well, moving on. You took a little pit stop in Turkey, a little pit stop in Germany. Now,
Well, they were stops. They were full years. My
Full
pit
years.
stops were
Okay.
that 1 year I had
the
about
14
15 games, 12 games. I didn't know what was
3
going on. At
games.
least I knew that I could unload my clothes and stay a whole year. That
Okay.
was fun.
all right, well, extended pit stops, and now you find yourself in Spain, in Girona.
Loved it.
Mhm.
Well, one of my favorite cities that I had the opportunity to play in.
Mm-hmm.
About an hour from Barcelona, about 45 minutes from the coast. Very quaint, not known for their basketball,
Mm-hmm.
but they supported it. They really got behind the team. But I love the city. The city was fabulous. The people were great. I made some good friends. John Roca, who was the kind of like the player personnel director.
Was he? What does that entail? Is he kind of like a player manager? Like
Yeah. It's kind of like he was the liaison between the players and maybe the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a trip to
Roca.
Positano. Roca.
Yeah.
Roca taught us how to play a game on the water. We called it Posi Ball.
Posi Ball,
Posi
yeah.
Ball.
So, boom, you're in the Catalan country, and you said you won the Catalan Cup there?
Catalan Cup.
Okay.
Girona had never won the Catalan Cup, and it's basically 8 teams that are all from Catalan.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a Final Four. And Barcelona, who's a big power in Europe, they won just about every year, and there's a team called Badalona that was Jovent too. They had a great team as well. We ended up beating Barcelona in the semifinals, which was a huge win for our
It
city.
seems like all these good basketball teams, like their soccer teams are just as good. I feel like
Yeah.
it's probably the funding though.
Exactly. No, it's because they have more money to go out and get players on. And then we ended up beating a team called TDK Manresa in the championship, and the place went nuts. We got back from winning the championship, and the town threw the biggest party, and it was just so much fun. And we did a parade, and because again, this club had never won anything at all. So that was quite exciting.
Well, you talk about the supporters, and we got a few more teams here, but what do you think? What city or country do you think has the most passionate supporters?
I'd have to go for basketball. Of the 4 countries I played in, I would have to. Gosh, it's tough because the.
Also, are you separating like passion with like craziness? Because I know there's some like just nuts.
Well, I think if you talk about passion, the Turkish fans were very passionate, especially when we would play Greek teams, because the Greeks and the Turks,
That's a lot of
they've got some beef.
some inner beef.
Yeah, from way back.
Yeah.
So they were passionate. The Italians, again, I'd put them in that same category. The Spanish fans were passionate, but they were very knowledgeable. I think, when I played in Vitoria, Spain, very knowledgeable fans of not only the ACB, but of the NBA.
Okay. So knowledgeable, like, explain that a little bit. In what way?
Knowledgeable, they know the game.
Okay.
They knew what to, how it should be played. And, they also watched a lot of basketball, NBA games, and they knew different players in the ACB and coaches. They were really plugged in.
Okay.
They weren't just going to a game
Just to
right.
get
They were knowledgeable. When they spoke, you kind of thought they knew what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm. All right. So you talk about what you said in Vitoria. You said
That was in Vitoria.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get there, you have your what am I trying to say? You had your fun time in Girona, but now you're in Siena, Ducato. Is that what I'm saying? Yeah, Ducato Siena. So tell me about that. You're back in Italy.
Well, that brings up some good and bad memories. The city was great. Everything started out extremely well. I was injured. My feet started really bothering me. I had bone spurs. So second part of the year I didn't play well. I had a 2-year contract. However, they didn't want me to come back. Long story short, they made a settlement with me. So
Okay.
I accepted the settlement. I was going to get surgery, and then they didn't make their payments on the settlement.
Dang.
And they end up coming to me again and saying, listen, we want to make a settlement. We'll pay it right away. So they wanted to make a settlement on a settlement. So it kept going from,
Dang.
say, $100, I'll give you 50. Okay, just give me 50. No, I'll give you 30. So I
These
ended
guys
up,
were just illegitimate.
there was a guy named Signor Minucci, and and I'm not a violent person, but if I ended up seeing them, we would have some words. So go to court, and the way it works in Italy, there's 3 kind of like judges.
Yeah.
And it keeps getting postponed. And my father, Papa, was alive at the time. They came to me about a week before and said, listen, we'll give you $25,000 if you. I said, you've already done that.
Which,
so I end up losing this case. That it's impossible. If this case would have been in the States,
yeah,
there's no way I ever lose.
okay,
I'm 100% sure that they went to those judges and just greased them, and they voted.
Well, you got to look at it like from their point of view. It's like you're an American, well, Italian, but like an American in their eyes,
right?
And you're trying to, I don't know.
Well, there's no players association. There's nothing that
That's
you
tough.
don't have any support over there.
Yeah.
So a lot of times those contracts mean nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and if they don't like you, they get rid of you. There's not guaranteed money. This was in the contract guaranteed money, but it shows you how guaranteed it was because I didn't get it.
That's tough.
So I got a beef with Senor Manucci.
Manucci, if you're out there.
If you're out there, I'm coming for you.
Dang.
Yeah.
I guess a lot of people take it for granted, these, I don't know, NBA contracts.
Yeah.
But moving on ahead, you got out of there, I guess, with a little bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Not enough, I can tell you that.
And you go to Rimini?
Yep.
Rimini,
Rimini was a great city. I went over there kind of, after the first maybe 25% of the season because I was recovering from surgery, both my feet. So when I went over there, it's a city right on the beach.
Yeah.
It's a very touristy.
Is it like the East Coast of Italy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the East Coast. It's kind of like Myrtle Beach or Wildwood. It's in the summertime it's packed, and then in the wintertime it kind of shuts down. But
got a good friend, Tito Riva. Shout out to Tito. He lives there.
Okay.
Rimini.
Tito.
Basketball player too.
Yeah, and we were about an hour from Bologna. It was a cool little place. Team was pretty good. We had some good wins and some not so good. But I do have to tell you about one win.
All right, tell me.
We were playing Siena at Siena.
Oh shoot!
And they were supposed to beat us. And the game meant something because they were trying to qualify for the European Cup. And
Were y'all, so let's rewind a little bit. So you're in Rimini. Is your team, how's your team looking? Like, are y'all in the European Cup?
No,
or
we're
no?
middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack, okay.
We're going to stay in the first division. We're not going to go to the second division.
So this game doesn't really, it means
it was
that much for
late,
the team?
Late in the year, we weren't going to, there wasn't a whole lot on the line for us.
But personally,
oh
shoot.
Okay. I had my boys pumped up. I told them all about it. So we went there on a mission, and it meant a lot for them. So we went, I'll never forget, we were down about 5 or 6 at halftime.
Yeah.
I said, God, we're right there. And everybody knew what it meant for me to go back there because they took my money. So we end up, long story short, we end up winning on a last-second shot. A guy named Larry Middleton. Boom.
Shout out Larry.
Shout out Larry.
Larry
And we end up winning. And it just, ironically enough, as I was running off the court, I happened to glance and see my buddy.
What's his name?
Senor Manucci.
Senor.
So I stopped, and I had some words to say to him that probably can't say on the show.
Yeah, we don't want to air those on the podcast.
But I was happy to get that off my chest. Would have much rather the money that he owed me, but I still got an opportunity to tell him the way I thought.
That's a pretty cool story, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So boom, Rimini. That's your
Rimini.
little cool little payback, little revenge.
Yeah.
Now, where do you find yourself?
Well, it's kind of interesting. So I'm about a week away from going home, and those seasons are 10 months. They're long seasons. So I was kind of excited. I wish we would have played better, but we had another game left, and then the playoffs were going to start. Well, I got a call from my agent, and he said, "Hey, how would you want to go to Vitoria, Spain? One of their guards went down, and they got a couple more games, and then the playoffs, and it's a big club in Spain."
Yeah.
I was like, "Heck, I'm already over in Europe." as much as I wanted to get back home, I was
Might
like,
as well.
I said, let's do it. So as soon as my season ended, I took off, jumped on a plane.
Same year.
Same year.
Same year.
Yeah. And went there. So I played the last regular season game and then the playoffs with Tau Ceramica, which was a fabulous organization.
So boom, played the playoffs. How'd you do?
Did well. I played well. I was a backup
Okay.
point guard. I had my Italian passport, so I didn't count against being an American.
Oh yeah, they got these things. Do you think they have them now?
What's that?
The cap for how many?
I know that it's changed so much. It
So
used to, yeah.
back in the day when my dad was playing, these Italian or not Italian teams, but European teams, they'd have a limit of how many foreign players or
That's right.
just American.
It
Okay,
was-
foreign
and
players.
when I first started, it was two.
Only
you know,
2 foreign players.
Yep.
Why do you think that? Just
Well, they wanted to keep jobs. They wanted the
Okay.
jobs to
For
stay.
their people?
Right. So
Okay.
in Italy, it'd be 8 Italians and
It'd be like a Camposo, like a Franculo,
yeah, they
and
had
then there'd be like a Stevenson,
Jacopini,
Jacopini, and then there'd be only two
Rusconi.
Johnsons on the team. Or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Well, that's true. And played with a guy named Jacopini, could shoot the ball.
Jacopini
And Rusconi, one of the best big men in Italy
of all time.
of all time. He could go now. And
Shout out that guy.
could have played in the NBA, but he didn't want to leave his homeland. He was one of those guys that just wanted to stay there. He was
Okay.
He was a true Italian.
Sabonis was kind of like that,
Yeah.
and then he eventually left.
Well, I had a guy I played with in Boston, Dino Raja.
Ooh,
Actually was MVP on the Boston Celtics.
big time guy.
He stayed, I don't know how many years, maybe 2-3 years with the Celtics.
Mm.
He could have, great player, but he was like, I don't like the lifestyle.
Is he a Croatian guy?
Yeah, Croatian.
Okay. He was also a big guy. He played for Milan a long time.
Yeah,
And he's a pretty big legend.
right.
Basketball.
Is he Croatian or Serbian? I'm
Raja.
not sure. But
I could look
but
it up.
the lifestyle didn't suit him, so he ended up, going back to Europe and playing. But how did I got sidetracked on? What
Yeah,
I
he's
was
from
saying?
Split, Croatia.
Yeah. Okay.
Legend.
So you were.
So yeah, I kind of sidetracked you a little bit. So you kind of bypassed that rule of only having a set number of Americans on the team with the Italian passport. So now you're in Spain,
Yep.
Ceramica.
Yep, I was there for the playoffs. We
Mhm.
ended up getting beat in the playoffs. I played well, and they ended up re-signing me for the next year. So I had a 1-year contract the next year,
Mhm.
and played for a great coach, Dusko Janovic.
Dusko.
You've heard the stories. This guy would work us out. I know a lot of people have worked out hard. We used to do 3-a-days. And we
Not
did
2-a-days?
2-a-day, 3-a-days. We would do plyometrics.
Wow.
The day before the game, he had us jumping off of boxes and everything. But had just a great team. We ended up that year. We ended up winning the championship, or it might have been the following year.
Mhm.
We were loaded though. We
Stacked team, yeah.
We stacked team.
Elmer Bennett.
We had the cards. We held the cards.
Say a few names that were
Elmer
nice.
Bennett
Okay.
played at Notre Dame. Just an unbelievable player.
Yeah.
Had Lolo Forest,
Frenchy guy?
French cat.
Lefty. Good shooter.
Mindaugas Timoniskas
Okay.
and Strombergis. They were Lithuanians.
Mhm.
Then we had the Argentinians. We had Fabrizio Alberto, Luigi Scola.
Luigi Scola, a lot of people know that name.
Yeah, Chapo Nocione. Those three ended up playing a long time in the NBA. They were like 19, one was 18, one was like 16.
So you had some young talent.
We had some young guns, and they could
That's
play. They were just Tiago
Splitter. He was on the team at the time.
He was on the junior team, but he used to
Okay,
work
okay.
out with us. But they that program had like a junior club that had great players.
Mhm.
Jose Calderon, who played in the NBA a long time, was there. Pablo Prigioni. They had some ballers.
That's
Yeah.
that's big time. That's
Right.
kind of the powerhouse, I
Yeah,
guess. you
and
could
I
say.
love the city. The city was fabulous.
Mhm. That's where you met my godparents?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. Your godparents are Lights and Josepha,
Mhm.
and we've gone back many times, and I've really enjoyed that city. And
Yeah.
People are, remarkable. So after that year, I ended up re-signing for one more year.
Okay.
Re-sign up one more year with Dusko, and having Dusko, he cuts your career short.
Viscosity.
Yeah.
This guy, you were telling me like before, just stories. This guy's like, what would you say, insane in the
He's
head?
insane. The best coach I ever had, as
Mhm.
far as knowing X's and O's, and he would make people set precise picks at the right places.
Is he a former player or no?
Former player,
Okay.
great player. There are stories about him when he used to play after games.
Did he bite ears off?
No, he probably did. But after games, he would run stairs. After everybody left, he'd go up and down, up and down. The guy was a madman. Great tactical coach. Knew
Mhm.
everything. Studied film. We were so well prepared. It was unbelievable. But he was nuts. I mean, we would run. We'd go on these 5 or 6 mile runs, and then have to go shoot. And then we'd come back in the afternoon and jump on boxes and do sprints. It would be like a day or two before the game. And
Nothing like how it is now.
No, but I'll tell you what, this is kind of interesting. Is there was a line, and the players were over here. He never socialized with us.
Mhm.
He never barely talked to us, but we all knew who the boss was.
Yeah.
And it was him. And what he said, we did, even though we we didn't want to do it. But we really believed, maybe not in the way he worked us, but we believed in him.
Mhm.
And he was just the best coach I ever had.
Well, you see a lot of times like coaches want to be like friends with the players. You talk about that line. Is that how you think coaching should be, where you should only have that, work?
That's
person?
actually, I think it's an interesting question. He was too far over here. He was too far away from the players. I think that I think when a coach can get close to that line but doesn't become one of the players,
Mhm.
he still has respect. I think that's best.
Yeah.
But you were going to meet him this year if this COVID-19. Remember, we were going to head to Spain.
Yeah. A little blessing in
And
disguise,
now
maybe. You never
he's
know.
back coaching with Tal Ceramica.
Oh, okay.
And, so that would have been fun to have you meet old Dusko.
I've met some scary coaches in my day.
This dude's crazy. Yeah.
So, how many years you spend there? 2.5?
Yeah, 2 and
Mhm.
not quite 2.5.
And would you say this is like the most complete team, not like a Siena who was scamming you and stuff?
This was a great team, had great players, had great fans,
Mm.
great organization. They were the most like an NBA franchise. They had great marketing department. I mean, they were so different than other European clubs in so many different ways. They actually paid on time, which is surprising.
Wow.
That puts them in a very small percent. But their marketing department was good. They had a accounting department. It was like a real organization.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, not to spend too much time on this topic, let's wrap things up. So after this, you're done. You're retired, but then you get a call from your agent.
I was done. Dusko had ran me into the ground a little too much, and I was hanging it up. After playing 11 years. Well, it gets to August is when you usually go back to Europe, and it got to like November, and I hadn't been working out a whole lot. I was a little overweight, and I get a call from my agent, and he says, "I got a club that really wants your services." And I said, I can't do it. I said, I'm out of shape. I'm happy. I'm starting to get into real estate. And he said, listen, they really want to give you an opportunity. And I kept saying no. And he kept calling me. He kept saying no. And finally I said, okay, I'll go over there, but you need to tell them that I'm not in great shape. And put it in writing so they can read it. Well, they wanted me to come over. So I went over there, and I was about 15 or 20 pounds overweight.
Where is this, you said?
Alicante.
Alicante in Spain still.
Spain, yeah.
Okay. How old were you? 30?
I was probably 33, but I was an old 33. I was sore. I had
A little
surgery.
battered.
Yeah, I was
Battered
battered.
33.
I was really like a 48-year-old body.
Mhm.
But, so that was, I didn't last there long.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, I ended up experiencing a tough time. were working me out. They'd wake me up at 6 in the morning, and they'd take me on the track, and I'm all for working out. You know, I knew I was overweight, but it was physical, mental abuse. They wouldn't feed me food. They told me I needed to lose weight.
What?
And they you know, at times.
So, let me get this straight. You're at Tasaramica doing 3 days with Dusko.
Different 3 days.
Okay.
You know, it was, when I was there, we may watch film in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
run in the afternoon, and practice at night. So it wasn't, you know, what I was enduring at Alicante was waking me up at 6 in the morning, saying, get ready.
Kind of like boot camp.
Boot camp, but it was
military.
one-on-one. This wasn't with the team. This was one-on-one.
So they were trying to get you in shape.
Yeah.
This was before the season?
No, the season was already going on.
Okay.
And they would run me like a dog to the point of, you know, I'd be throwing up and heat exhaustion. And then I'd come back in the afternoon and do all kind of other, you know, things that were just unnecessary out in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they'd say, okay, well, you can go get some rest. I'd go home, lay down, they'd be coming, banging on my door, grabbing me out of the house, 3 or 4 of them, taking me back out there to work out. And I finally, you know, told my agent, I said, I'm getting sick of these people. You know, they're trying to verbally abuse me, mental abuse, physical abuse. One guy threw a weight at me one time, and I told him, and it was about 3 or 4 of them, so I would have had to take on, a couple of them had some size on them, and that was their job to kind of intimidate me to get in shape.
So they had some muscle on the staff.
They had some muscle on the staff, and I kept telling them, I said, man, I'm tired. I was going to get broke down before I even could get in shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I devised a plan.
Okay.
I had a payment that I was waiting on, and they owed me some money after 30 days. So it got to about the 27th, 28th day. I said, you know what? I'm going to wait for that wire transfer to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And when that wire transfer hits, get out of town.
You're out of there.
I was out of there, so I kept calling back on that 30th day.
Mm-hmm.
That wire hit? Nope. Call back a couple hours later. That wire hit?
Who are you
Nope.
calling for this?
I was calling Stuart, calling one of mine. And I ended up calling the office, the basketball. Hey, you know, we sent that wire. Did the wire hit? Finally, it hit.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So I ended up packing up my bags, and I, you know, went down to the train station at about 2:30 in the morning, and I hopped the train to Barcelona. I didn't want to leave out of the airport in Alicante.
Oh, okay. So you were kind of you were mapping this out.
I was mapping it out. I knew what I was doing. So I took my car down there, left the car, didn't leave it in like handicap or anything. I left it in parking, so the club, it was their car.
Mm-hmm.
Put the keys on the tire, got in there. I was walking in the train station late at night, hopped the train to Barcelona.
You were like looking behind your back and stuff?
Yep. Oh, I was scared that someone said, what are you doing there? Where are you going? Get to Barcelona. I'd never done this before, but I had a handful of cash on me.
Mm-hmm.
Went up and I said, I need a ticket to anywhere in the United States. If I don't care where it is, I need to get there.
Dude, it's like a movie. You're like escaping
paid for
terror.
my ticket, and I remember just as soon as that plane took off, I was like, whew. And the funny thing is, as soon as I got back in the States, I looked at my cell phone, and I had all kind of voicemails. Where are you? What are you doing? You don't know. And then one of the voice messages was my agent, and he said, Chris, what's going on? You know? So I called him back, and I said, hey, I'm back. He said, where are you? I said, I'm in New York City. And he said, oh my God. He said, they're going crazy. They're looking for it. They sent out the cops looking for it.
What?
So I don't think Alicante is a place that I'll ever go for vacation.
I think you're blacklisted there.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go back there.
You never know. We might have to go back and
bring some heavyweight.
Bring some muscle with us. See what happens.
Yeah, no, I'm done with that place.
So that kind of ended your basketball career professionally, at least.
That was it. Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
And, gosh, I was tired at that time. I had kind of put a lot of miles on the body, and I was ready to hang them up.
All right. Well, that concludes the podcast. Thank you for sharing those stories. Thank you if you made it this far for listening. And, we're just trying to get these out. Quarantine right now, so inch by inch, getting these stories out. All right. See you later.